My name is Fan Yang, Assistant Director at William Stephanie Foundation. Welcome to our Recharging Your Business Post-COVID event in Long Beach. So first thing, please follow me to pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's play the national anthem of the United States of America. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may sit down. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce William Stephanie Foundation, the host for today's event. William and Stephanie Foundation was established to assist underserved communities of all ethnicities. Its founders, Daniel and Ling Sieu, come from a long history of service to the community. The role of William Stephanie Foundation is the bridge between the federal and state governments and the various ethnic groups that comprise the Asian and ASEAN communities. In addition to promoting economic development of minorities, William and Stephanie Foundation also initiates and organizes positive energy events, such as cultivating teenagers' social responsibility, increasing public awareness of environmental sustainability, local scholarship program, and music healing therapy. Compared to material abundance, we believe awakening everyone's dream and having a beautiful mind is more important. Next, please allow me to introduce Mr. Daniel Sieu, the chairman of William Stephanie Foundation. Mr. Daniel Sieu is the chairman of William and Stephanie Foundation. He was also appointed to the California Inland Empire District Export Council by the Secretary of Commerce, Penny Pritzker. Mr. Sieu has worked directly and indirectly with MBDA under U.S. Department of Commerce since 1997. Currently, his team is reaching out to minority communities, including East Asian and ASEAN communities, to assist the business owners in becoming familiar with applying for government assistance programs from the federal and state government. Let's welcome Mr. Daniel Sieu to give his welcome remark.
Good afternoon and welcome. And thank you so much for being here today. It's really great to be out in the sun amongst people, away from webinars, and hopefully on the start to recovery from the pandemic we just went through. First of all, I'd like to have a shout out to my alma mater, Cal State Long Beach, a place that I spent many hours, and I wasn't quite sure my future would hold after graduating, but it's a great place to be, and I'm very happy for the experience. Now, when I was at Cal State Long Beach, this was literally decades ago, and at that time there wasn't even a pyramid, and you could probably go to Thrifty's Ice Cream and buy a double scoop for 25 cents at that time, which shows you how long ago that was. I'd like to say my experience in college was as if I was on the top student, but actually that wasn't quite the truth. I always envied to be one of those students sitting up front having all the answers to the questions for the professors, but in actuality I was probably the guy in the back dreaming about the next invention or how to do business or things which were not necessarily relevant to the curriculum. Several years ago, though, it was brought to my attention that a lot of these business owners were not necessarily the top students in their class. They weren't the A and B guys. There were people who were able to maneuver and think of different ways to solve issues. And so in that regard, for those of us who aren't the highest achievers, there's a lot of hope for our future in what we do and creating jobs and helping our economy. So William Stephanie Foundation was set up to help a lot of these businesses because although we've been around a long time, it really showed within the pandemic that so many businesses were being left behind. They weren't being given access to the government programs. They had no idea to fill out the forms, and they had so much trouble with all the government red tape that we felt that since we had connections into the government and relations and the willingness for the government to work with us, how could we not help our communities when so many people were suffering? So throughout the pandemic, we were able to do many webinars, helping many businesses, and so many businesses who actually were able to survive and actually prosper very well since the pandemic. Now, today is just an extension of what we've been doing in that we're bringing together great speakers with excellent connections, including two consul generals, State Treasurer Ma, and other government agencies to introduce them to you. So if there's a way that they can benefit and help your business, then here's your opportunity. On top of that, hopefully we have in excess of 150 different businesses here where your path to success won't necessarily be the one you envision, and it may take knowing more people, having more resources, and having a greater network to get to that level of prosperity that you would have been given we had no pandemic. So that being said, I encourage you to make new friends. If some of our speakers have something that resonates with you, be sure to come up to them and build a relation so they can help and we can help you to your path towards success. So in that, At this moment, I'd like to introduce some of our extinguished guests in the room, starting with the California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, Consul General Malaysia, Ms. Anil Fahriza Adenan, Consul General Cambodia, Mr. Chha Hout, and Mr. Vice Mayor of Long Beach, Rex Richardson. So, next on our list, I'd like to introduce Mr. Rex Richardson to give his remarks and welcome from the city.
Well, good evening, folks, and welcome to the incredible city of Long Beach. Let's hear it for this amazing city. We are here at the Aquarium of the Pacific in the city of Long Beach. And I'll tell you, it's certainly a fitting topic. Get your business, recharge your business post-COVID. We know that we've all been through a difficult time over the past 2 years. A crisis on multiple fronts, a pandemic that forced cities to reevaluate all the things, the core services that we provide, and forced businesses to adapt, to survive. We saw that the impacts of those businesses, the impacts on those businesses were not even or equal. We saw that the impacts on families, particularly communities of color, API communities, Black communities, Latino communities, significant impacts on their health and their economic prosperity. We also know that cities have stepped up. You know, we're proud that Long Beach was one of the first cities in America to vaccinate 99% of their seniors, the very first city in America to do so. And just 2 months ago, we announced for the first time in 2 years that we had no hospitalizations in our Long Beach hospitals due to COVID-19. So I think it's safe to say we're heading in the right direction, and it's time to get transition from surviving back to thriving. I also want to just recognize this incredible list of supporters you have, and I see we have our State Treasurer Fiona Ma. Let's recognize her one more time. Fiona Ma, for being here. We look forward to continue to partner with the state on ways to help boost our recovery, particularly with that big surplus you have over there at the state. What was it, 90 billion, 97 billion, something like that? And Long Beach, on the ground, we're doing what we can as well. We adopted the Long Beach Recovery Act, largely driven by federal recovery dollars, a $230 million recovery plan that boosts, invests in small businesses and health equity and violence prevention, all the impacts we saw during the pandemic. We leveraged state, federal, county dollars to make that happen. Dollars are going out right now into our communities. And one in particular, and if you have a business here in Long Beach, we want your business to recover, and you now have an opportunity up until July 21st to apply for the business activation grants, which help fund local activity, local events, promotions to help your businesses to recover. Our Recovery Act also places a great focus on building more economic resilience. We've seen that we've had to adapt by finding ways to eat outside and do different things, and now we need to figure out how to continue to learn from that and build economic resilience as we move forward. I want to thank Idea Driver. I see the folks at the shirt, stay curious, right? Let's hear it for Idea Driver. We want to recognize and thank the William Stephanie Foundation for bringing together this incredible room of leaders and businesses to ensure, we want to thank you all for all of your work in ensuring that no business is left behind. We also know that there are many global factors outside of our control, so the more that we extend and we think about our international relationships so that we can work together is incredibly important. It's something that Long Beach values. We're an incredibly diverse community. We're home to a large, thriving Cambodian population, Filipino population. API community is thriving here in Long Beach, and we're proud of that. And we know how to collaborate. And we want to continue to encourage you to collaborate right here in our city to make sure that our city, our businesses in our city have an opportunity to thrive and that we continue to be a leader across the region. And so I want to thank all of you for coming out today. I want to encourage you to pay attention and participate and get as much out of this as you can. I'm Vice Mayor Rex Richardson. Thank you and welcome on behalf of the City of Long Beach.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Chha Hout, Honorary Consul General of the Royal Government of Cambodia to Long Beach, California, USA. Chha Hout was appointed to the Honorary Consul General of Cambodia in Long Beach on June 20, 2012. And he's the 4th Honorary Consul of Cambodia office in the United States of America. Mr. Hout has been a very good collaborative partner to our organization over the past, opening the doors to many of the other countries throughout Southeast Asia. So, one so dedicated to his community and others, we truly applaud his effort and his heart. So, please let me introduce Mr. Chha Hout.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. On behalf of the Royal Honorary Consul General of Cambodia in Long Beach, California, I would like to welcome everyone here today. We're gonna have a lot of things to learn after the COVID, the post-COVID. We need to recharge how to survive. That's the Vice Mayor have been said. And then thank you to Stephanie Foundation that stepped up and make this happening here today. And I'm looking forward to listen to you. If you have any problem in our community that we need all those help with the post-COVID, so we can come to our office or we can connect you to one of our specialists to help out everyone here. Want to make sure you can go through to this post-COVID. So I'm looking forward to it after this session. And I have nothing to say all, but Vice Mayor and Stephanie Foundation have mentioned about a lot of programs here that are available. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you after this workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Consul General Kim. And now I'd like to introduce our California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, who's the 34th State Treasurer in California. She was elected on November 6, 2018 with more than any other votes, any other candidate for Treasurer in the state's history. The first woman of color and the first woman CPA elected to the position. May I introduce State Treasurer Fiona Ma.
Thank you all, and it is great to see everybody in person. This is an amazing venue. Thank you to the City of Long Beach, to Vice Mayor Rex Richardson. We actually sit on an advisory council for the Claremont Lincoln University, which has just launched an online Master's of Public Administration. And because of COVID now, we now have alternatives to business opportunities, educational opportunities, and Claremont University is at the cutting edge. So if anyone's looking to get a master's, please come see Vice Mayor Richardson or myself. I'd also like to recognize and thank the Consul Generals of Cambodia and Malaysia for being here. They are very active in their communities, representing their people, but also getting the important information out. Because as you will hear today, we have had $27 billion come to the state of California for different programs to help businesses, renters, students, seniors, but sometimes these programs are on a first come, first served basis. So by the time you hear about it on the newspaper or in the news, it's probably gone. And so the William and Stephanie Foundation, Daniel and Ling and I and others have been putting on these virtual webinars for the last 2+ years to really prepare the community so when these grant opportunities arise, you are ready to go when they push that button that the money is available. So I am the treasurer of the state of California. That means I am your banker. All of the revenues come into my office. Last year, it was $3.2 trillion. We are the 5th largest economy. I also invest the state's local funds that are not being used, and I issue all the bonds for the state of California. So we have been keeping people busy even during COVID. You probably saw a lot of road repairs to our bridges and infrastructure, and that's because we have been continuing to issue our bonds even through COVID. I also chair 15 boards, commissions, and authorities that funds affordable housing, hospitals, children's hospitals and clinics, schools, public transportation, advanced manufacturing, green technology companies. And we do have competitive programs. If you are buying equipment that is cleaning and greening our state, you may be able to apply for a sales tax exemption so that you can save that 10% or more of sales taxes. And that could add up significantly and help your companies. We also have a Cal Competes program. If you are growing here and want to locate in California, you may be able to apply for an income tax deferral up to 3 to 5 years. So saving on income taxes can also put more money back into your business. We also have a very active California small business advocate. And this is a very important website for you to please visit. This office keeps us all up to date on the different programs that are available or about to launch. That website is www.calosba.ca.gov. Right now, there are small business micro grants that are available up to $10,000. So grants are free, loans need to be repaid. So a lot of the money that came from the federal government came to the state, but it also went to the counties, and as you heard Vice Mayor Richardson say, the city of Long Beach also is rolling out programs that are specifically targeted to the businesses and the residents here in Long Beach. So the micro grants that are available is for small businesses, up to $10,000, and you need to complete an intensive training program through select partnerships. They are called the Technical Assistance Expansion Programs. And once you go through that training and consultation, you will be eligible to apply for this $10,000 grant. And that is available right now for small micro grants for companies that are just starting out. Coming soon in the next couple weeks will be grants for nonprofit performing arts organizations. So those that are theater companies, dinner companies, dance companies, musical groups, artists, and other performing arts. And this is going to be a first come, first serve program. It is based on your 2019 annual gross revenues, but this grant can be used for salaries, payroll services, recruitment and training, and other operating expenses. So that is going to be rolling out probably at the end of this month. So get ready, get all of your paperwork in order. We also have 2 loan programs. So these need to be paid back, but on a longer term basis. If you are having problems getting a traditional loan through your bank, community bank, or credit union, please look to either the iBank or the CalCap for small business. We at the state provide a loan loss guarantee and a loan loss reserve to participating lenders so that they feel more confident in lending to those small businesses that are having a difficult time right now. So maybe your credit score isn't that great, or you forgot to file your taxes some years, right? These programs are specifically targeted to those companies that are having a hard time. And we also expanded our mortgage relief program. Now you can apply for past due property taxes. If you're a higher income individual and own a home, you may be eligible now. And it is also open for those homeowners that missed payments in 2022. So that website is camortgagerelief.org. So we are here to help you at the state. I also have one person that handles all of my constituent emails. Please feel free to reach out to us at askfiona@treasure.ca.gov. We will be rolling out more programs, especially to those businesses that are hardest hit. But we need to hear from you. If we don't hear from you, then money will not be available. So please tell your vice mayor, let me know, let your assembly member, your senator, the governor know, because like I said, we have received $27 billion in the state of California, and we want to give it out, but we need to know who needs it the most. So thank you all for coming, and I look forward to hearing the other speakers tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, State Treasurer Ma. And before we get any further into our program, I'd like to thank our sponsors for, if it wasn't for their support, we may not be able to do this event. But that being said, I'd like to thank YSTBP Corp., Sandra Biskin, President, Director of LifeWave, which is stem cell research. They have a booth out front. WNP, Asian Inc., and Health U. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Next we have a video from Dr. Dolph DeRusse, who is a professor, writer, and world-renowned investor authority on real estate. Dolph teaches at events and institutions in over 16 countries including Tony Robbins Wealth Mastery, Trump University, and also works with Robert Kiyosaki and the number one for a number of years, and wrote the book Rich Dad's Advisory Series in Real Estate. His acclaimed book was on the New York Times bestseller list for over 7 months. He's also passionate about psychology of wealth in general and real estate in particular, and more than willing to share fruits of his ongoing quest for knowledge. So we're going to roll the tape. Dr. Darus, he is not able to join us today because he's in Europe, actually doing one of his wealth management seminars. So please enjoy the video.
Hello everyone, Dolph Darus here again. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of June. I wish I could be with you at the event put on by the William Stephanie Foundation. It's always exciting to be there and mix and mingle with people who obviously have some considerable influence in business. But I can't be with you right now. Part of the reason I'm going to explain is that I'm doing the very things that I'm going to be teaching and preaching. I am today no longer in Amsterdam, where I sent a little preview video encouraging you to be at this event. Today I am in Malta. Malta is a tiny island between the southern tip of Italy, between Sicily and Tunisia. And it's only 13 miles wide and 19 miles long. It's a tiny speck. And supposedly Malta was discovered when the Apostle Paul was sailing back to the Vatican City from Africa. And he got shipwrecked here, and he was so impressed with the natural beauty that he invited all the artisans of Europe to come here and put on their best wares. And that is why behind me, across the water here, you've got Valletta, the little capital city of Malta. And the entire city of Valletta is a World Heritage Park because it is truly astounding if you haven't seen it. All the churches and cathedrals. By the way, on Malta, which is such a tiny island, as I said, there are 365 churches and cathedrals, including the world's third largest dome after St. Peter's in Rome and St. Paul's in London. It's a 42-meter dome, which during the Second World War scored a direct hit by a German bomb. It punctured a hole in the dome, but when it fell to the ground, it failed to detonate. And what they've since done is they've taken all the explosives out, of course, but the metal casing of this bomb is still in the church, essentially where it landed. Fascinating history. This is an immensely exciting place. But that's all historical. The oldest artifacts, by the way, known to mankind are on the island of Malta, 7,000 years old. But that's not why I'm here. Malta is also an economic center. And I'll give you an example where in the United States we have a lot of gambling, with originally Las Vegas and then Atlantic City, and now we have casinos in many places. Even Phoenix, where I'm normally based, we have a casino there, and there are gambling machines just about everywhere. But for some strange reason that I can't understand, online gambling has been banned in the United States. Even the hosting of websites which host online gambling establishments, they are banned. So, you know, the thing that Malta did is they established themselves as an online gaming center. And they put very fast internet pipes into the country. And that's why sometimes the lowest tier that you can buy of internet is 250 megabits per second down. It's just amazingly fast. And now, as a result of having this change in policy, apparently 80% of the world's online gambling is conducted through Malta, which is good for the economy, of course. So why am I in Malta? Why was I in Amsterdam? Well, let me paint a picture for you that I think would be relevant to everyone. Because all of us know that we've got talk of a looming recession. There is an inflation that has gone higher than it has been in the last 42 years. It's hit 9% apparently. We've got supply chain constraints. We've got a chronic shortage of personnel where everyone is finding difficulty getting workers. And it's not just in the United States, by the way. I see it all over Europe. The first thing I noticed when I arrived in Amsterdam is they said, employees wanted. We have jobs available, hiring now. We see this in the US, we see it in Canada, we see it in Europe, it's all over the world. So supply chain constraints, high inflation, a shortage of labor, interest rates are going up, mortgage rates are going up. There's talk about an impending housing, if not doom and gloom and bust, that certainly there's going to be a leveling off. No one knows where this is headed, but everyone's concerned and they think it's going to affect their business. So a lot of people are wondering, well, what can we do to improve our business? And many people think in terms of getting faster or better computers or hiring more staff. Yes, if you can hire them, or getting a bigger warehouse. But what are you going to do to justify more staff and a bigger warehouse? So let me paint an alternative picture for you, one that I believe is the way forward for all of us in the room today, and one that will serve you very well. And to understand it, I need to explain that in the United States right now, we have approximately 100 million companies. And that's just the number of companies that there are. However, of the 100 million active companies, fewer than 1% export. In other words, 99 million of them do business just within the United States. And here's the shocking figure of the 1 million that do export. Of that 1 million that export, fully 80% of them export only to either Mexico and or Canada, meaning it's a road trip and not even overseas. That leaves a mere 200,000 companies that export globally. And when you think about it, when one of these companies does export anything to another country, the value of the US dollar improves. We all benefit because as these foreign consumers buy the goods that we're selling them, they have to buy US dollars, and that pushes the price of the US dollar. So we all benefit when any one of these 200 companies exports. And compare that with the last Super Bowl. The last Super Bowl was watched by an audience estimated to be 115 million. And think of this. Did any of those 115 million viewers benefit whether Team A or Team B won? And the answer is no, there was no benefit for them. So think of it this way, 115 million people watch a sports game where there's no benefit to anyone of which team wins other than pride and joy and celebration, and yet only 200,000 companies export where it benefits all of us. And that's why my catchphrase in this whole industry is as follows. If Americans could put as much energy and effort as they currently put into sport, into export, then we'll all be better off. And that's why what I'm saying is that the best way for you to increase your business, the absolute best way, is not to get a faster computer or a bigger warehouse or employ more staff, but it's to go from selling to a domestic audience of only 325 million to selling to a potential global audience of 7.8 billion. Now, will you reach all of those 7.8 billion people? No. But even if it's only half, even if it's only 10% of that, it's still a lot more people than you're currently able to sell to. And that is why I think absolutely the best thing all of us in this room can do is to export. And that's why the people that the William Stephanie Foundation bring along to these events is so crucial. So let me give you an example. Towards the end of last year, I attended a fundraiser for the William Stephanie Foundation. And there we had the Consul General of Indonesia. Now I happen to speak a bit of Bahasa. I've been there a lot. My parents, for some strange reason, actually got married in Indonesia. It's not a strange reason, but it's an anomaly given where people tend to get married. So I've got a bit of an affinity with that country, and we got talking, and there are so many opportunities for trade, bilateral trade, between Indonesia and the United States that I think it's criminal almost that people aren't doing that. And here's another benefit of considering going global, and it's as follows. If you do that, your competition is almost zero. When I go on missions to other countries, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, Cambodia, Vietnam, and here in Europe, Italy, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, there are hardly any other US companies doing the same thing, which makes it so easy to get established. So I really am encouraging you to think of going global. And now the William Stephanie Foundation can actually help you in this process, because what we do is we put on tours to specific countries. We've done them already to 8 specific countries, and we've got more lined up, where we will introduce you to companies that you might want to do business with. How do we get these contacts? Well, over the decades, and I've been doing this for 30 years, by the way. The website, in case you're interested, is borderfreebusiness.com. Been doing it for decades. We've imported helicopters from Japan and exported clothes to Japan, just to give you an example. We've also exported cars to Japan. When you think about it, it's such an odd thing that We import about 4 million cars from Japan every year, and yet few people have thought of doing it the other way around. So I was one of the first groups to actually export cars to Japan. Whole long backstory to that as well. Anyway, the opportunities are enormous, and we caught the attention of the State Department, who put the services of all their trade commissions and consular officers at our disposal. In other words, we make a call to them and say, this is what we're planning in 2 months' time, and they will do research through their consular agencies and line us up to meet with people who might be appropriate business partners, whether the foreign nationals are exporters or importers or traders, or we want to set up a joint service contract so that we provide our expertise in certain services over there. At the end of the day, the what that you're doing doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you actually do something. And that is where I find we need to change our attitude a bit. Americans, and I love living in America, I live there by choice. I think most of you know I've got multiple passports, I can live anywhere. But I have a choice, and I choose to live in America. However, as a nation, we tend to have a very low propensity to having a passport. In fact, in the Western world, Americans have the lowest uptake of passports. And there's nothing right or wrong about that. But I would say, if you don't have a passport, get one and go and do some trade in another country. You'll be stunned what that can lead to. So we only have about 26% utilization of passports. Of those who have a passport, only 5% use them in any 1 year. So again, this means that your competition has been decimated. And what I really encourage you to do today, at the event you're amongst the right people. And by the way, State Treasurer Fiona Ma, thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to hearing a recording of your words, because she is really behind this movement to increase trade from California, to bring us back on the map, to bring us back onto the forefront of doing well. And it's so easy to get there. It is so easy in the world we live in the economic world, to beat the average. And if nothing else, I consider myself a master at the art of beating the average. And to beat the average, you don't need to do one thing 100% differently, not at all. All you need to do is do 100 things 1% differently. Because any one of those things that you do 1% differently may not make much of a difference. But when you add them all up, then cumulatively, they have a massive impact. And you can double or treble the impact you have in a foreign country. You can double or treble or more the profits you make. And all it takes is absorbing information, talk with everyone at the event today, absorb what they have to offer, make a decision as to what you're going to do, and decide to do something. Because the worst thing you can do is to do nothing. In fact, I'd put it to you that doing nothing of itself is a decision. And it's time to decide to do something. Because there's an old saying, I'm sure you've all heard it before, the biggest folly in the world is expecting different results and not doing anything differently. If you do the same things every day, then all you can expect is to get the same results every day. And that is why I encourage you to make a decision to do something, anything, something that you haven't done before. My passion is to help people go global, hence the fact that I've been offering this service for over 30 years. We've had some spectacular results. I'm happy to share them with you if ever we come to meet, and maybe we can help you go overseas. But talk with people from the Williams and Stephanie Foundation. Talk with Daniel. Talk with Ling. They can help you go from being a domestically operating company to being global. And I know some of you already are global, and you're thinking, you're not talking to me because I'm already global. How can you go global to more countries? How can you expand your reach? All it takes is one idea, and that can set you off on a path to double or treble or quintuple your revenue and maybe even your profits. Thank you so much for listening. I'm getting back to the job of actually doing this. I hope to get good feedback, not just by the end of today as to how the event will have gone, but also in the months and even years to come, about how hopefully some of the things I've suggested might have sparked this bit of desire in you to actually give it a go, and then you may have found that it's been spectacularly successful. When I get feedback like that, I think it's worth my while. Thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing you again. And in the meantime, I want to wish you, as always, successful investing, successful business. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that enlightening? Hope you all gained some from Dolph's experience. Next, we'd like to have Peter Ramirez, who's one of our collaborative partners. Peter, Graduate from the University of Southern California Marshall School of Business. He's managing director of Aquarium Consulting, firm assisting companies which need financing such as lending, insurance, and structured financing. Excuse me. Please welcome Peter Ramirez.
Good evening. I hope you heard what Dr. DeRoos said, because I spent over 40 years in banking and my main effort was export finance. Did you know that you have the United States Export-Import Bank of the United States will finance your exports overseas and guarantee it? Furthermore, they will also finance 100% of the buyers. So I think that if you would like to have more information on that, please see me after this meeting. The Long Beach Bacolod Association is a sister city organization between a town in the Philippines called Bacolod and a city of Long Beach. And we are part of what we call the Sister Cities of Long Beach, Inc. And we have about 8 sister cities. It just tells you this great diversity of Long Beach. We have over there Richardson and Sieu. Could you please stand up? They are part of the Cambodia town of Phnom Penh. And we also have here the Paz Velasquez. Paz, could you just stand up? She is part of the NAFA. Now, what is NAFA? NAFA is the National Association of Federation of American Associations. NAFA is kind of like the sister organization to Long Beach Bacolod, but both of our organizations work very closely with William and Stephanie Foundation, and they are just fantastic and tremendous. Without them, they have contributed and donated a lot of medical supplies to the Filipino American community, and we really do appreciate that very much. I wanted to just touch bases. I met somebody here, Romulo De Leon. Romulo, could you just stand up? Yeah, Romulo is a steel frame manufacturer. And it just so happens that I have a customer in the Philippines that is looking to build 5,000 homes, and he's looking for a steel frame structure deal. Now, I just met Romulo De Leon, and we are going to be talking some more and to see if we can do business. Now, I would not have been able to do this had I not been able to attend this meeting. And I think Romulo also is very fortunate. So that's why I think it's very important that all of you mingle with each other and talk to each other, because you might be able to do some business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. And our final speakers are Andrew Anson and Sam Hall. Andrew and Sam are from Ideal Drivers, a business strategy agency. Ideal Drivers specialize in active listening, forging relations, nimble thinking, planning activities, and dynamic execution. So please welcome Andrew Anson and Sam Hall.
Oh, there we go. Hello. Hello. I'm Andrew.
I'm Sam Hall. Good evening, guys.
Thank you for coming. I've been known to mumble, so just raise your hand if you didn't hear anything. Again, thank you for coming. Thank you for Fiona Ma and the rest of our guests, Daniel and Ling. You've been phenomenal. I can't see Ling anywhere, but I know she's out there. Thank you again for that support. We very much wanted to be a part of this because of some of the themes that we've heard today. So for example, with Dolph, he's very much about leaning into these challenges, and we couldn't agree more. We think staying curious, that's what we're about, is really the way to get through challenges. It helps you stay in command of your situation. You know, when you're leaning into a challenge, you're going to find a way through. And so, if we could pull the trigger. Where's the?
Yeah, guys, if we could get that Google slide up.
Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3.
Okay, give us a quick sec. Somebody has a clicker. Is that fun? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3.
I'm a big fan of Willy Wonka because of all the joy and curiosity that it represents. And I absolutely believe that you can change the world. And this is what this is about. So let me kind of move forward. So I think a lot of folks are worried about, you know, what's going on with coming out of COVID. We're exhausted. It's been a rough go. And now we've got challenges on the horizon. And the truth is we have all sorts of tools. You know, we've heard earlier about all the programs that the state's putting together, the CARES Act program. So there's definitely a way through it. And one way we want to cover that is to invite you to stay curious. Always think about where you can move forward and how can I create an impact. And so we're going to kind of walk you through what we mean by that, okay? So this is a little bit about me. Over there in the upper left are my great-grandparents, Maylita and Lito. And that little guy is me. And they had a couple of nicknames for me. One was Monkey Face, and the other one was El Inspector. And it was because I had taken my great-grandfather's flashlight, and I would be in the pantry looking at all the cans and discovering and just trying to find out what was going on. So El Inspector was something that kind of reminded me of being curious. My grandmother, the reason I'm here is she always wanted to have an impact in the community. This is her having an impact in our hometown of Banning many, many years ago. And of course, the monkey face inspector is always going to be excited about Curious George. He's my favorite character. And of course, as I've gotten older, I've made my family participate in my Curious George adventures. That's my brother-in-law. He's the man in the yellow hat. My grandfather is actually in a sloth outfit, not a monkey outfit. And that, you can't see it, but my mom's dog also had an outfit as well. So big into curiosity, big into playfulness. My nieces and nephew down here, they continue forward. And you know, really about curiosity is, this is my mom. She was the first to do hang gliding in our little birthday gig. We celebrate birthday month every year. So the whole point is, you know, lean forward, don't be afraid, be curious, because there's a lot of opportunity out there. The last thing I want to share is going to be a theme in what we're going to talk about is the little space gun. My mom used to have a daycare business, and there would be kids walking through the house, and they would want to go into my room. So I didn't want that, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to take an old space gun, take it apart, add it to my door, and now I have a little alarm. And so I knew when somebody's coming into my room. So I like taking things and flipping them around. So that's my relationship with curiosity. I wanted to give Sam a chance to share with you his relationship with curiosity.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. So my relationship with curiosity did not start with the monkey. It actually started with a frog. My dad refused to buy the Atari gaming system for me when I was younger. And of course, I was really upset about that. And after a couple days of being upset about it, I realized, oh, you know, I could actually just learn how to code this video game that I want to play. And that's exactly what I did. And since then, you know, I've become very passionate about public service and applying that curiosity and ingenuity to projects like replacing the Middle Harbor here in the Port of Long Beach, to building the new International Gateway Bridge, and to most recently at the Pacific Gateway Workforce Development Agency as the Director of Economic Innovation, created a program that really repurposed another program so that we could help provide essential workers with free childcare during school closures. As you can imagine, if you're only getting minimum wage, you can't afford to pay a babysitter to come watch your child for 8 hours so you could work. So being a part of programs like that has been very rewarding for me, and Idea Driver is really our way of continuing that effort.
So, does anybody Yeah. So right for me in the 90s, this guy was on infomercials all the time. Super. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not used to mine. Yes, Matthew Leska, right? Late night infomercials, high energy, all sorts of programs. It had an impression on me. I was realizing, wow, there's all these programs. What is this about? Blah, 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 right? So that kind of led me into a path and part of my career, which is looking at these types of programs. So for example, early in my career, I was very interested in enterprise zones. Again, very geeky on my part, I understand. But what I realized is that there was a provision in this enterprise zone code that allowed for loans and investments to be made to these zones, and the investor and the lender or bank would benefit through not being taxed on the interest income. So long story short, what that allowed the bank or the lender to do is to share that additional yield and offer that business in that zone better terms than a competitor could offer. So what that did was it provided three benefits. One is we gave that business owner better terms than they would normally get if they were not in an enterprise zone. The bank themselves now could advocate in that zone as a supporting institution because the numbers made sense. And most importantly, it fulfilled the mission of the zone. So it created an economic situation where everybody got involved. We had a conference at the Fed here in LA. We had about 200 folks attend from banking, community development, all interested in how this program could work. So going forward, further on in my career here locally, I got a chance to work for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. I highly recommend, if you're a small business owner, participate. It's basically a 6-month mini MBA over a short period of time. They're really focused on not taking up a lot of your time because you have a lot going on. But you are wrapped in tons of support. There are faculty, there's alumni. I think we're in our 20th cohort over there. It's an extremely supportive program. They follow you for 2 years after you graduate. So if you get a chance, take a look. I'm highly recommended. And everybody who goes through it, they always come out with great metrics. So more recently, with the CARES Act, we have, my experience has been with the Paycheck Protection Program. And we've all heard about it, but a couple of things I didn't want to share through that evolution. So I was asked to be a part of this organization called Blue Acorn. They built the platform in 6 weeks. And they were able to do this was because everybody was on quarantine. All the developers had been laid off, so they were sitting around with really nothing to do. And so we were able to work with them, and in 6 weeks they built a platform that basically streamlined the process, made it more accessible to people, easier to understand. We did it in multiple languages. Some problems though that you're probably aware of or that you heard of is in PPP 1.0, there was a lot of supply chain issues. Only the bigger businesses were able to take advantage. Why? Because they had attorneys, accountants, resources, and folks really advising them on these programs coming down the pipe, and they were able to pivot and take advantage. So in 2.0, things were adjusted a little bit better. Some of the players were bolstered, and FinTech got heavily involved. And what I think is really exciting about FinTech getting involved in these types of challenges is they're able to help and accelerate more access and help more people. So in Blue Acorn's case, we helped 1.4 million small business owners. They averaged $15,500. These are not big loans. This is your hairdresser, your truck driver, your baker. These are not people out there taking advantage. And 2/3 of the portfolio of that 1.4 was for minority, veteran, and women-owned businesses. So what I want to illustrate here is that as we're moving forward with technology and opportunities, there's more resources out there. We're covering these government programs, but this mesh of FinTech helping us get access to more people is really important, and I think it's going to move forward in our economy. So that's kind of a past program and the way we kind of innovated it and accelerated access. So with the current program, we're working with William Stephanie and a number of other partners to ensure that any businesses that were impacted, that are eligible for this program, get the chance. And so it's really quite simple. If you had any one of these 3 issues, if you had a business that was shut down for a government mandate, if you had a decrease in your gross receipts, and if you were the lucky person to start your business after the 15th in 2019, you could be eligible. What's important to know is that typical businesses are gyms, daycare. There's a number of industries that qualify because they just went through a really tough time. Let's see here real quick. So One of the partners we're working with right now is the County of Monterey, with this program in particular. We walk them through what the program is, we introduce them to partners like William Stephanie and some other folks and said, hey, how many businesses in your community have actually taken advantage of this? You could, to the tune of $26,000 per employee, bring resources into the County of Monterey. And so they have committed for the rest of the year to be 100% behind this program. And their goal is to have an impact, if not comparable or bigger than their PPP impact. And so what does that mean? They're sending out emails, TV, online, social media. They're literally gonna go door to door. Some people in here have probably been on walk and knock door campaigns. They're gonna go to every business and make sure that business has the choice. And when you do all the math and what's possible, again, it's possible to bring another $500 million to $1 billion to that county if they make that concerted effort. And that's the kind of impact I'm trying to demonstrate here. So, we've talked a little bit about Monterey and what we're partnering up there with them on. Why don't we bring it a little bit closer here? Sam can talk about how we can impact here in Long Beach.
Yeah, exactly. So this is our backyard right here. We're in the Rainbow Harbor area, right? But downtown Long Beach, as we continue clicking here, Drew. So keep at it, bro. So in downtown Long Beach, you have almost 2,000 businesses, right? And almost half of those are businesses that you would visit on a regular basis. A store, a retail store, a restaurant, a bar, maybe a place where you get your hair, your nails done. These are all places that you have a personal connection with, right? And the cool thing about these businesses is that they actually generate a lot of sales revenue, retail tax for the city itself. So the potential here in Long Beach to help is quite expansive as well.
Before we move on, one of the things I did want to share is still in 2021, this is a federal survey, we're going to cite some numbers. Still 1 in 3 businesses is not taking advantage of these programs. So right and left to you, one of you isn't participating. Why don't we look at some of the other?
Yeah, so we know that government assistance helps deal with some of the financial issues that businesses deal with, particularly through this quarantine. However, we know that it's not going to solve all the problems. So what we wanted to do is just shine a little light on the state of capital these days. So according to that Fed Small Business Credit Survey from assessing last year's, we could see 62% of the businesses applied for a loan just to help with their operating expenses, things like rent and wages. And we also know that 58% of the businesses actually had unmet financing needs. So they didn't get enough or didn't have access enough to the capital that they needed to operate on a daily basis. So this is a picture that businesses are really struggling here. And one of the reasons is that the biggest banks denied 53% of all the loan applications in 2021. Part of the reason for that is because 48 million Americans are invisible to the current credit scoring system. So we have a lot of work to do here to make things more equitable for our community. But there is a predator lurking, right? Okay, so you can click next. There is an industry that's growing right now. It's going to become a $1.14 trillion. I'm trying to time it with the. Anyway, it's going to become a very big business, and that business is the merchant cash advance industry. Just by a raise of hands, how many people are familiar with merchant cash advance? A few hands in the room? All right. So you might have heard about them. Basically, these are a type of loan for business. It's like a payday loan. They're unsecured, meaning you don't have to have credit in order to obtain an MCA. They are guaranteed on your future sales. So the APRs on these are very high, up to 350%. And when businesses start stacking them in order to get one to pay for the last one, which is something that these companies try and talk you into, they end up getting 60% of their daily revenue automatically withdrawn just to pay for these debts. And
That's before the owner sees any money.
yeah, exactly. The other thing that is good to know here is that the FTC is warning businesses that these companies are starting to seize assets. So if businesses are unable to pay, they are just starting to acquire those businesses' assets. But there is hope.
So I alluded earlier to fintech. So we talked about fintech creating access, accelerating access, innovating impact with PPP, and what we're trying to do with ERC. I feel like we're rapping or an alphabet soup. But going back to fintech, when we talk about scoring, we see all this advertising about, improve your credit score, make sure your credit score is strong and along those lines. But we're also noticing that the scoring system itself needs to be looked at. What's the criteria that's being used? What habits, what behaviors are being utilized in that? And so what we're seeing in fintech and technology is people saying, you know what, I don't think FICO is the right measure of somebody who's able to pay or somebody who's a good credit risk. And so there are folks coming out with new scoring systems. One of the ones that we've been chatting with is Vital here. So, what does this all mean? Where are we going with it? We've been staying curious, and we learned about MCAs during our process with the ERC, or the Employment Retention Program. What we're inviting folks to do is to take this knowledge and really help your community. And so what do we mean by community driver? It's really kind of a working title, but we're inviting communities to take advantage of this knowledge and apply it to your community. So a good example that we can talk about, we've talked a little bit about merchant processing in that space and the shark and that kind of thing. But there's also there's better actors in that space that we would want to cover, and examples and models that are geared towards, rather than taking funds out of the community with the current model, so when they pay a fee for every transaction, that money goes away from the community. With this type of model that we'll share with you, this provider and other providers like them want to contribute to the community, so they make it possible for that community to share in those transactions. So why don't we go ahead and share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so essentially we want to empower these merchants by reducing their monthly operating costs. That's part of what their strategy is. But then the other part is donating a percentage of these fees collected back into the community and use them for public good. So next slide. So just to kind of give you an idea of how this would work, is essentially you would walk into a local merchant and make your purchase, pull out your credit card, debit card. As soon as you slide it, there's a transaction taking place, right? And in order for the merchant to process that transaction, they pay a company a fee in order to manage that. And right now, as Drew said, those fees are just going out of town. And so our model is to change it so that when you swipe that card, a portion of every dollar that you spend is actually being reinvested back into a local nonprofit. And that's really giving them, somebody like the Bixby Knolls Association. There are many other types of businesses and associations that can take advantage of it. But essentially here they would get some unrestricted funds that they could use to augment their existing level of service, or create new programs, or even create opportunities to obtain capital for capital projects. Here in downtown Long Beach, if we're kind of thinking like, all right, well, you're generating this money for the community, what kind of money are we talking about? So our partners have given us some estimates on what kind of expectation we can have. And right now, if we look at the amount of sales revenue for retail sales in downtown Long Beach, 2019 they had over $700 million annually in retail sales. And what we're estimating is that for every 100 million in retail sales processed, we can get back $100,000 to the community. So when we start adding up these programs throughout the city, it really starts getting into millions of dollars that can be flooding back into our communities for homeless services, youth programs, anything the community desires.
I hope we're not boring you with lots of really interesting numbers, at least for me. I find this very interesting. So, okay. So, what we're asking before we leave is we feel like we want to make sure that you are aware of these types of programs, that each one of you has the ability to have an impact in the community. And so I want to play a little game with you, which is, how much impact is possible. So for easy math, the ERC program we talked about, it can reach anywhere from up to $26,000 per employee. So what I'm suggesting is for easy math, let's just say the program produces $10,000 per employee. If every person who's registered here knows 10 employees, whether that's through one company or 10 companies, the point is that you're able to bring that money into that community. So, for example, in Monterey, we had a roofing company. They had about 80 employees between two companies, actually. One was solar, the other one was roofing. We're estimating that they're going to bring back anywhere from $600 to $1.2 million to that company all by itself in tax credits. So what does that mean? That means that they are going to be in a position to pivot. They're going to be in a position to get ready for the coming economic challenges. And it just gives them a lot more options. So what I'm inviting you to consider is when you're leaving here and you're talking to folks and they're going, what do we do? What do we do? You're like, have you heard about the ERC? This program is geared towards especially companies who held on to employees when it was hardest. And these are the folks that we want to help. Those folks who rolled up their sleeves, got in there and made sure that they kept their employees employed. And so we want to help them with that. So I just ask you to keep this number in mind on a per employee basis. And so when you come across various folks, you're like, oh, this plumbing company has 30 people. Maybe 10 will qualify. But that's a huge amount of money that can help that small business. So I invite you to take a look more at these programs. We're available to chat, and that's about it. And we invite you to stay curious. And also this QR code, there's information on working with the William Steffney Foundation. There's a calculator there if you want to see what your ERC impact is. You can book some time with us. You can't order food, but that's about it, right?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, guys. We're going to have a quick Q&A and then get on to our networking. So those of you get on the Q&A, we're going to grab some chairs and do this quick, and so we can get on to the refreshments shortly.
While we're setting up, I forgot to mention a very important program that is great for small businesses. If you have 5 or more employees and you don't offer a retirement savings account for your employees, you have a June 30th deadline coming up to register your employees. Basically, you would upload your roster. We open up accounts for them. It is under my office. It's called Cal Savers. And those accounts will stay with your employees. You will have no other legal or financial liability. So let's say they decide to quit, or they go part-time, or they get sick. It doesn't matter. Once you upload your roster with us at Cal Savers, these accounts stay with them. And it's really about setting it and forgetting it. So once they open it up, they put a certain amount of money each month in their paycheck, and that money will grow, hopefully, for their retirement or if they have an emergency. So calsavers.com for 5 or more employees. June 30th of this year is the deadline. Thank you.
Is it working?
Yep.
I can still run up and do the Oprah.
Hello? Okay. Do we have any questions for any of our speakers?
Any? nothing. Not even about the monkeys. No?
Don't tell us we set up the chairs for nothing.
Please.
Guys, fantastic event, a lot of great information.
Thank you.
Hello, hello. I was just saying, fantastic event. Thank you so much for putting this on. My name is Derek. I own Derek Easley Entertainment and the Long Beach Acting and Film Association. And I think we all had a very interesting time through the pandemic, as you guys mentioned. Of course, my business kind of ground to a halt because we did a lot of live events and in-person conventions and in-person filming and stuff like that. So thank goodness that we live in this new media digital age. I'm filming you guys as I ask this question, but I think a lot of us wouldn't have survived without Zoom and without social media and stuff. But of course now we're getting back to in-office meetings, in-person meetings, all that. I just wanted to ask you guys individually, how would you advise businesses to have that amalgamation of capitalizing on social media, digital connections to connect with new customers and with people while also kind of returning back to some form of normalcy pre-COVID?
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things I could say is that e-commerce was a very useful tool for for businesses that hadn't had that as part of their operation before. We saw obviously with brick and mortar stores closing, right? That the online retailers like Amazon and Best Buy had soaring profits during quarantine. But there was a lot of small business here locally that actually sort of took the same approach, right? They upped their game on e-commerce, but there's a number of other things that were done. Obviously in restaurants, we know people got really creative with outdoor dining and delivery services that they weren't offering before. We've seen ghost kitchens really come up lately, like Partic Collective is just blowing up right now. So there's a lot of really a lot of really interesting stuff that companies can do. But definitely the e-commerce piece is huge. If you're not doing that already, the statistic, I forget it offhand, but it's an alarming number of businesses that are not involved in e-commerce. So that's one area to step up.
So because we do this a lot, people always say, hey, check us out. One company I found was very interesting is Shopify. Shopify is for those small businesses, maybe you have a restaurant or graphic artist or a hairdresser, and you don't know how to open up a website, take payments, right? Shopify is exactly for your type of business. For a fee, they do all that for you. So they will help you set up your website, help you with your email traffic. If you want to put your menus online, they will help you. If you want to take payments, link to delivery companies. And this company is not about making money. They really want the small businesses to survive. And so these tech entrepreneurs, like these folks here, they're not about making their pockets fatter. They really want to level the playing field. So that's another interesting company I found.
Yeah, I would just concur with both of you. I got a chance to study the ghost kitchen market last year, and it's fascinating, and it's blowing up actually in other countries more rapidly than here for various reasons. But there's been this desire to, there's an independent streak that works well with our society, and so not that fintech or e-commerce, any of the technology is the actual solution, but again, I use the word empower probably too much, but it's absolutely true. You can, how many people did we see start businesses out of their garage, making food businesses or pizzas? I've seen so many things like that. I love that spirit. That's the pandemic pivot. It's great to see. So, yeah.
So what's a ghost kitchen?
So a ghost kitchen is so when everybody didn't really have to have a indoor dining and it was really about delivery, you then free up the brick and mortar to not necessarily be in the Main Street town. You can have a warehouse. I hate to say it that way. You can have a warehouse facility where you may have 6, 7, 8 different kitchens, and they all have hours that different cooks or concepts are producing out of that location. And so now you're getting mashups, right? You can have a location that'll have Mexican, some pho, you'll have Italian, and so everybody in the family, whatever they're craving, whether it's Thai chicken curry pizza or something like that, you can all have it at the same time. And so it's a really fascinating area where, again, somebody who maybe doesn't have the capital to open a brick and mortar business for themselves, they can go rent time at one of these ghost kitchens, work their game, figure it out, build their brand, and then move into that next thing. So there's really no excuse not to pivot, if you stay curious.
I also add that one of the partners in our network is Business Warrior, and they have actually a free service for businesses. You can go in and they actually analyze your website to basically give you a grade, give you a score on what your e-commerce operation is currently like, and then they give you a bunch of ways that you can actually improve that. So if you have no idea where to start on how to improve your website, that's actually a pretty good free resource to use. That's just available through businesswarrior.com.
And also, your small business development centers are free resources
Yes.
for you
Yes.
to provide consulting, technical assistance, if you need help with your business plan. And you can go to, again, small business development centers. They are all over the state. They are funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration as well as the state of California. So these are free technical consultants. So look into that as well.
Yeah, actually, to jump off of that, we keep doing that, but this is the nature of collaborating, right? So check it out. Just up the street is a brand new facility called the Chha Hout Center. It's for entrepreneurs, for people who own businesses. If you need any kind of help, like very similar to what SBDC can do, they're there to help you with that. There's a lot of great new technology there. It's free.
It's
Yeah,
free.
It is free.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you reminded me. SBDC sponsors the Goldman Sachs program. That program is free. If you qualify, you don't have to pay a tuition. Goldman Sachs covers that. So it's a phenomenal program. Yes. Wow. And SBDC shout out. Yes. Free. Small business. Oh, the Goldman Sachs program? Oh, Business Warrior.
Business Warrior.
Yeah. They have a marketing assessment.
May I ask a question?
Anybody? We come get you.
Right here?
At this time, I'd like to thank Fan for all of his hard work setting
Yes,
up this
please.
event. Fan's done a great job.
He's the man behind everything that's happening, so please give Fan.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Ramirez, and I just wanted to, I just wanted to know if any of you guys had any advice for those wanting to start up their own business. I'm currently 17 years old, and I just graduated, and I'm interested in something like retail, starting up something like that. And I just wanted some advice from the professionals up here. So, anything you would like to say?
So are you here in Long Beach?
Not currently, but I live in Diamond Bar.
Okay, so again, your Small Business Development Center. I would start with a business plan, because the business plan, helps you think about how much you need to start, and you need to have reserves because sometimes things don't go well. So your Small Business Development Center consultant can help you. And then I would say look at Shopify. Since you're just starting, Shopify is exactly for people like you. Single entrepreneurs who need help in their websites and setting up your online retail merchant processing.
And I would just add a bit of life advice I got at 17 or 18. It was pretty simple. I had a history teacher who basically said, go find somebody who's very successful at it and let them mentor you. It's a compliment to them if you're serious and respectful about it. And there's a wealth of knowledge that you'll gain. It's hard to put a finger on it, but you'll carry it forward. Most definitely.
Yeah, definitely intern.
Yes.
If you have a successful company or a person that you really admire, call them up. People like us, we love to have interns, to mentor, the next generation.
I also like to add, if you think professional, something that you actually know, it start whenever you know, it start better than you don't know anything to start business. So professionally, let's see, I'm the donut owner, I got to make donuts, something like that, or something that you're professional and start something like that, maybe conquer the business.
I would also say, like, when you're starting out, especially if you're getting into retail, it's very competitive, right? So you probably already know that. To me, I've always found inspiration in why I'm in business, right? Like, why am I doing this? And it's not just to make money. I mean, that's too easy. It's really about giving. For me, it's about giving back and finding ways to be of value. And I think the more that you can be of value to your community, the more rewarding it's going to be for you as a business owner. So I would just encourage you to find ways to engage your community, find ways to involve them, and find ways to, like I say, just give back in some small little way, and you'll find that you'll get rewarded in a big way back.
It's your passion. As long as you're passionate, you won't go wrong.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
And since you're young, social influencers, use the internet, use social media.
Interwebs. I think they're just playing with you, fan. I think they're just making you run all over the place.
Got multiple over here.
About 6 rows up, bud. Can you hold up your hand, please? I think Sofan can see. There we go.
Oh, the light's right in his face. That's what.
Just walk up 6 stairs.
Yeah.
While he's walking, my voice is loud enough, and my question is posed. There are so many opportunities for loans and grants. My question is, and there's a different criteria for each. Is it a singular platform that if we just input all of our information, we're able to know automatically what we apply, what we qualify for, and what we don't? Kind of streamline it so we're not.
Can I?
Be a tremendous help if that doesn't exist.
I can just share with you, I've been striving for that for quite some time. The closest I got was the Blue Coin experience, where we realized that we were establishing a relationship with 1.4 million small business owners. And the next question I had and some of my other team members was, okay, we've gotten them the resources, but what else can we do to make sure they're getting through it? So that's kind of, there isn't one yet. There's folks out there working on it. There's different groups that have slices of the pie, but an all-encompassing, probably not. Like, you probably have it on the state level maybe in some states. Other states don't even care. So it's a mix of things like that, but I personally am striving for that, but I'll keep you in the loop if we find things.
I will also add that that's something that I think that we're very conscious of, because our partnership with the William and Stephanie Foundation, it's been very enlightening and rewarding for me to work with them, because they do a great job of staying in the loop on what is coming down the pipeline, what grants are coming available in the near future, and connecting those opportunities to the communities that they work with. And we're really helping to expand that and help broaden that scope. So that is something that we are doing to an extent, and I think that as we continue to work in that effort, then that will mature, and hopefully we do end up developing something that's a little bit more substantive like that.
I'd also like to point out that what Fiona Ma said, I think it can be found on your website, correct? Because she's talking about grants and loans, and I know that that's very keen to all of my customers at Long Beach Coalition Association. So I would highly recommend that we look at Fiona Ma's website.
Yeah, actually, the Cal OSBA website is probably the best in combining or, combining all of the state resources. There's another organization that we work closely with too, Small Business Majority. They have a lot of private sector opportunities as well. Cal OSBA is all the state ones, and then Small Business Majority we find is been very, very helpful for other type of loans and grant programs that are maybe private sector too.
Can I ask that if you have questions that don't get answered, just corner us in the mixer part, directed follow. I've been asked to take on 2 more questions.
Yep.
Yeah, I would just like to ask Fiona and really the rest of the group, exporting is really an unbelievable opportunity, and having 40% of the goods, internationally leaving or coming into Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, do we think that we have the proper incentives to teach all of these younger entrepreneurs that it's just as simple as selling across the street, across the world? And some of the grant programs that have been sort of enumerated here today, do you think that we could do more to devise new programs to help incentivize export for young entrepreneurs?
Can I answer that real quick? There are various different kind of training programs for those who want to export, and it's at various levels too. Depending on what you want to export, that would really determine whether it's suitable for you or they have all the answers. Usually you need to go to different levels to get those answers. For the very sophisticated, there's a government program, for example, through ITA, which they'll actually line you up with qualified buyers in whatever country that you want to do business with. But we can talk all day about export in that regard. So I would advise if you want to have a one-on-one conversation or just give us a call and get more feedback, please contact us and we can follow up and introduce you to the right people.
Yeah, so the state of California is really focused on people here and helping them post-COVID survive, grow, and pay their bills. So that's where the state is focused. But please let us know if there are opportunities, barriers, challenges that you have, because we are looking to roll out programs for the hardest hit, but also ways for us to compete in the global market as we start opening up, and for those that are actually interested in doing business. Because if we set aside money and nobody applies for it, that's time that was spent thinking about it, creating a whole application process. So we just really need to hear from you what type of assistance you could use moving forward.
I just want to point out that export is really a key driver, as you discussed. I spent 35 years in banking, and I specialized in export finance. And not very many people know that the government will guarantee the exportation of U.S. goods and services overseas. Not only that, if in the right direction, they will actually make a direct loan to the foreign customer. Not very many people know that. And they will guarantee it at 100% to the exporter here. So that's just one thing to look at. It's xm.gov, and you should look into that those programs.
Yeah, XM Bank, right?
Yeah. Our next question.
First of all, thank you for putting on this panel. I hear several key words and it kind of rings on my bell. One is community, one is mentorship, and one's a spirit to try. And I kind of just want to follow up with the young lady who over there who just asked you a question before. Is any of your 6 panel up there were willing to offer internship for an entrepreneur like her, which is in maybe high school range, to try, or you have some advice that what kind of internship they should be able to get to help them for their next path in terms of either the college or in terms of their business?
Well, I mean, specific internships, I always like to work with the colleges whenever I've been at different companies and the company decides to support. Usually there's a college close by and they want to get involved. So a lot of times I would work with the college that you're graduating with, the school that you're working with. A lot of times they'll have resources. I've also, over the years, I've found really cool offerings. Like there used to be a thing called vocational vacations many years ago, where I love to cook, so I was like, what's it like to run a restaurant? And so for 3 days, I could go and spend my time with somebody who actually is doing it. I don't know if that's still around, but that's a formalized type of great internship mentorship. But again, I really go back to the measure of, if you're passionate about it and you're really feeling it, there's a big reason why Sam and I click so well on this subject is because the reason we're here is we want to have an impact, right? We're passionate. It keeps us up at night wanting to put a presentation together, putting all this together. That's not going to happen if you're not passionate, right? And if you're not swimming with the same type of passion that you have, if you're not swimming with the right type of people too, so when you're choosing a mentorship or an internship, it's just as much as their disposition and their openness to share and their openness to clear the path for you. It's not just that it's the Google internship or the such and such internship. Are you really getting a rich experience with that individual? And is that individual committed? So when you're looking at those programs, I tend to advise folks, if you really feel it here with that opportunity, then that'll go with you for the rest of your career. And also too, I say look at more than one internship in a different discipline. The more lenses you have into a challenge, the more brilliant and beautiful the opportunity is. So.
And local governments, like I live in San Francisco, we have a lot of opportunities for young people, especially in the summertime, and some of those positions are paid. But most of the internships are not paid, right? And it's up to the young person to, track one of us down, right? Ask whether there's opportunities. And then if you really want to work for a company eventually, you should look at what they're offering now. If you can work for them for 1 or 2 or 3 summers, once you graduate, you probably will be offered a job. If you're going to wait and have no job experience, no internships, and try to compete with the millions of other people who want to work for a Google or a Facebook, good luck, right? So pick a company, start honing in on it, and look to see, follow on their website, try to find someone who works for them, and usually there are opportunities.
And then why don't we move this into the mixer area and we can continue collaborating and chatting. And if you have specific questions, please approach us and we'd be more than happy to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.